Welcome, 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 everyone, to our beautiful podcast, Blue Feathered Stories. And we are doing a summer series called Rewoven, the Stories of the Sacred Womb. And I am joined again by my beautiful soul sister, Amy Everett. And since I've forgotten to say who I am your host, your hostess, Carole Tétreault, also known as Blue Thunderbird Woman. And so we are diving in again with beautiful Amy. Amy is a soul sister that I've known for a number of years, and she has incredible wisdom in regards to the womb, especially specifically to do with, the birthing. She is a doula. She is trained in the Indigenous teachings, and part of her mission is to bring back ceremony, the rites of the womb. And so I love it. We have much in common when it comes to womb stories. And today we thought we would spend some time talking about what we're going to be vulnerable here. We're going to share about our stories about the disconnect, how and what could have happened that would have caused us to be completely disconnect by our wombs, which in turn, if you remember in the last recording, the last episode, is much related to the throat chakra. And so what are the things that we never spoke about? How is it that we never, ever maybe shared some of these stories around what was happening in our womb that caused us disconnect? Welcome, Amy, to this series again. I'm so excited that you are here with me again. Yeah, I don't know if you just want to dive in or not, but just welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. You know what? This has been such a beautiful series for both of us. And it's been very actually healing for me to share this. And I hope the audience, the viewers, the listeners are just as touched by this. And the reason why I felt to share about our stories this time, because I was listening back to our first podcast about this, and I was listening to it as if I wasn't the speaker, like I'm just a listener. And I got very emotional because I heard this woman on the other side speaking so beautifully, so eloquently, so powerfully, um, with a lot of knowledge of the womb space, and did not have fear in sharing about the womb, about the uterus, about ovaries, about sexuality, about sex, all of those things. And I was actually like, holy man, this person that I'm listening, this woman that I'm listening to was not me. I would say even 5 years ago. This has been such a journey for me. And I can imagine when someone is watching or listening to this, they could probably feel like they're they resonate, but at the same time, it's like, well, you're so confident and you feel so good about yourself and your sexuality and your womb. You're not afraid of that. And I have to say that I I was, and it's still today a daily practice for me to explore that part of myself. It's a reclamation, what I call it in womanhood, a reclamation in my indigenous parts of me, but really, it's it's unlearning a lot of things that have been put on me, that I've carried, that have been layered and layered. And the more I've been peeling back the layer, the more the veil has been lifted, the freer I feel. And so truly believe that when you want to nurture connection, when you want to go deep with someone, you can only go deep with someone as you go with yourself. And when you offer your own story, something about you, it really brings connection. It bridges a gap. And so that's why I felt, you know what, I got to share my story,
Mhm.
because not, I'd say no more than 5 years ago, did this reclamation of my body, of my womanhood, of me. My voice, finding my voice, has been a journey. And I'm just to tell you, I'm going to be 43 this year. So it wasn't until my late 30s, 38, 39 probably, where I really started to explore that side of myself.
I love that. And, when I think and reflect about my own story of the womb and the disconnect that I had, it wasn't until like I'm now 59, and it was a good, I'm gonna say, 10, 15 years ago that I realized the deep of the disconnect that I had in the womb space. And everything happens in its timing, right? Like we can't push that. It needs to happen when it needs to happen. But I'll never forget the very first time that I realized like I had no relationship with my womb. And I mean, as we unpack this together, we will learn, be vulnerable as to what does that actually mean and how did that show up for us? So, yeah, Amy, if you are ready to step into that, I'll let you share.
Yes, absolutely. So I have not planned what I'm going to say. I'm just simply going to share my story, my experience throughout my life, and I will be sincerely vulnerable. These are some of the things that I only share in my life with certain people, and I really feel in this container of this series that it feels safe to go deep for me, and so yeah, and please, this is a no judgment to where other people are at in their life, what they find of value in their life. This is simply my experience. So my disconnect really started with, first of all, I would say I grew up in a very religious home. My mom was a very devout Catholic. My dad, he struggled in alcoholism, and so was a huge disconnect between my parents, what I grew up. They did the best they could. Again, there's no judgment. I don't blame my parents. I love them deeply. And I love now to how I'm able to alchemize my experience into something that's healing, something that's medicine. So please know that my parents are wonderful people, but they're human just like all of us. The religion part of my life, when I associated that with my womb, with even just being a woman, it was to remain small. Like pious to me translated to being small. If you want to be good, make sure you're small and you stay in your place. Using my voice, I realized a very young age, sharing my feelings, emotions was something that when I did, intimacy would be withdrawn. We had very little communication in our home. When I shared things that hurt me, and specifically that, like, perhaps my mom did or my dad did, or it was hushed. No, we don't talk about that. And so I learned very early on that using my voice was not good, that it was intimacy would be withdrawn. And if you want to be loved, if you want to be accepted, if you want to stay part of belonging, you need to keep your voice low. And so again, when we talk about our voice and our womb, they're directly connected. And so the womb, when I look at the religion part of it, there's a lot of negativity associated to it. And to be good, you almost had to be this extreme version of, like when we talk about the Virgin Mary, this extreme, I don't even know how to call it, but this extreme icon to be, for your womb to be something of value or to be of something beautiful. But instead, there's sin, it was shame, it was guilt, it was negative, it's bad, it's evil. that's everything I associated with my womb
Mhm.
and being a woman, expressing my sensuality and your sexuality. All of it was bad. And so I learned to, again, suppress that. From that, from that origin of not being able to use my voice, feeling unsafe, feeling like I'm evil, I'm bad, I'm sinful, I'm all these things for these natural parts of me. It set me up in my life to put my value in. And that's the other thing. Let's look at society, for instance, the way society portrays women and what a beautiful woman looks like and where her value is. It's in her body. She has to look like a certain type. If you don't have this, if you don't have that, then you're not beautiful. All these things. So you can imagine this whole packed container of what I was faced with going out into the world. I did not know my own power. I did not know my own voice. And so men and having boyfriends became something of value to me where I meant something now and put me in very uncomfortable situations where I would not use my voice. And so sex became part of my life at a very young age. I would say, if I look back now, it's probably about 14, 15. It's crazy to me because when I look at 14 and 15-year-olds now, I'm like, oh my gosh, we were babies. We
Mm.
were babies. So this is high school, right? And so to make a longer story short, I, at about age 19, 20, I had I was introduced to this mission, this independent mission in Winnipeg. And it was all about devoutness, piety, and belonging. And again, the whole theme was around the womb. It's evil, it's bad. And so I thought to be accepted, and especially accepted in sort of my mom's world, this would be a good thing. And
Mhm.
I actually, it did enjoy very much that mission. I was there for 15, 16 years. I had not dated anyone. I had not no sex, um, no sex, no masturbation, nothing, nothing to
Mhm.
do with that area. Not exploring it, not knowing it, just completely disconnect from that and hide it as much as possible. Hide my breasts, hide my body, hide everything that I could. I wasn't a nun, but it was in that kind of realm, that theme. And so when it closed, the founder had passed away and it had closed. This whole other chapter of my life opened up. Now, if I go back a little bit into high school and, from 14 to 18 to 19, before I had went into that mission, literally talk about I was at rock and roll, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Pretty much that was my teens. I had done drugs, I had done alcohol, and had boyfriends and so forth, and then nothing. So in both worlds, I was still completely disconnected to my voice, to my womb space, but like extremes, right? And so when the mission closed and my life kind of opened up, I had went right back to sort of the sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Even though I didn't go back into drugs, it was more the alcohol. I still did not know how to use my voice. I went back into sex. And please know that sex was never enjoyable for me. Like maybe foreplay and all those things were, but penetration was not. I cannot orgasm during sex. When I started to kind of slide back into this world, I had this awareness of like, okay, whoa, 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 like this. And I had, on top of this, I had guilt and shame even while I'm doing this because here I came from this other extreme pious world into right back into something that I thought was evil and all these things in it. So when I went right back into this, I had met a man and We had sexual activity, and I ended up conceiving. And that scared the hell out of me. Literally, I could not see me having a child. And so I ended up having a very early abortion. And oh my gosh, and I did it alone. I did it all alone. No one knew.
Mhm.
And here I was in my late 30s, and I felt like, just what is happening to my life?
Mhm.
And that's when I started to get a little more conscious about who I wanted to be with, still not knowing my voice, still not knowing who I was. I also ended up with a very abusive relationship. And I don't use this word lightly. He was a narcissist, and it was a year and a half, a little over a year and a half. And even though that's probably not a long time, it's a long time with a narcissist.
Absolutely. Probably
Yeah,
feels like 20 years, right? Yeah.
yeah. Previous to that, I had started to go on birth control, which I never ever used before. Until it was after the abortion where I introduced that, because I didn't feel actually worthy to be a mom. I didn't feel like I was a woman who could be a mom, because I had spent so many years choosing not to have all of this in my life. It was like, now here I am and I'm pregnant. And it's like, oh my God, no, this is not supposed to happen. When I went through this, when I went through this very unhealthy, toxic, abusive relationship, there was a point, and I was thinking about this actually last night, because there was a point at which, and you know what, I actually remember the day where everything changed for me, where I actually stepped into my power probably for the first time, because I started to notice the cycle in narcissistic behaviors and what happens. I also recognized that I was also discovering my power. I was also learning to find my voice at this time. I remember this cycle of disregard. There's a cycle in art narcissism where it goes, they love bomb, they start to disregard and devalue, and then they throw you away like you're garbage. And then the cycle continues, right? The devaluing started to happen again, and I was catching on to what was happening. And I remember I was in the middle of my run, and I was running, and I remember thinking back home of what I was going back to. And then I thought of all these women in my life. I thought about my Oma, who had passed away already, my mom's mom, who we were very close. I thought about my mom. I thought about my sisters. I thought about all these women I knew in my life. If they came to me and said, Amy, my boyfriend, my partner, my husband is treating me like this. He's doing this, he's doing that, and da 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 da. Is that okay? And I stopped dead in my tracks in the middle of my run. And I said, no, no. And I remember actually saying that out loud and going, that's enough. And I walked back home. I had an emergency bag, believe it or not. I had to prep myself to actually leave, because I tried to leave a few times and I was pulled back in. This was it. This was the moment. This was my moment. And I remember I left and I never went back. And I only went back with a friend to get the rest of my stuff. And that was it. That was a moment for me where I literally started to find my voice. I started to heal parts of me that go way deep into my childhood, because I asked myself, how could someone like me end up someone like that? And that made me go deeper. It wasn't to blame, it was to heal these parts of me that suppressed, that did not allow myself to be loved, to truly love myself, to feel worthy. And I remember I drew a line where it's like, okay, if people in my life don't treat me like this is the bar. And the bar, I don't even want to call it high, because it should be the norm. But I said it like high. And this is the way I was to hold myself in integrity and standard in the way that I want, in the way that I treat people. And since then, since I started to really go deep within myself, love the parts of me, heal from the parts of me, these people, the right people in my life started to show up. You know, Miguel, oh my God, God bless that him, because when I met him, I was terrified. I had these feelings come up, and all I kept thinking is, when's it going to turn bad? Like, is he like that? Because how could
Yeah.
something,
When's the cycle going to show up again? Where's the pattern, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And oh my gosh, Miguel, like, we are not perfect by any means as humans. Of course, that doesn't exist. And we work on ourselves and each other and our relationship. It's a daily thing. But I have to tell you that Miguel he's always just been there, and he's always rose to the occasion. Like,
Mm.
has, he made love and made me feel love that it was so easy. It was
Mm-hmm.
just, it was ease. There was so much ease, even though like relationships are challenging and there's difficulties, but to love each other where we're at and grow from that was just so easy. Then that's when I became a mom. And like I said, when I remember I shared this in a post, that I never thought I was going to be a mom. Being a mom, being pregnant, I actually, Miguel and I had, I was pregnant before Abrielle, and we had a miscarriage. And that rocked our world for sure. But it actually brought, and I believe this truly, that every child, no matter how they're chosen to live, how long they're chosen to live in this life, or in utero, that they come with gifts and they come with their own medicine. And I truly believe that both the abortion and the miscarriage I had, there was pivotal moments where I was like, for the abortion, it was really, it was, I would say, and I have to actually sit with this a little bit more, maybe this, but I think it was a moment where, okay, now things are changing. Like, I can't, this, this is something that I really got to look at and take seriously.
Mm.
The miscarriage actually helped me connect with that space deeper, to have compassion for that space in myself, to
Mhm.
weep for that space. It brought so much awareness to who I was and how I wanted to bring children in this world. And if I was, you know, granted that, I was still worthy, just as I'm like, just where I am. And so having Abrielle was like my whole world flipped upside down. I got so deep into myself. I loved I remember actually doing this practice, and I actually encourage the listeners to try this for themselves, even though it might be very hard at first. I would literally look in a mirror, and at first I'd be clothed. And then it got to the point where I was standing naked in the mirror and I was looking at myself, and I was letting the thoughts, the judgmental thoughts, pass away. I was not attaching myself to them. And anytime I felt like, oh, I have big thighs, or oh, I have this, or oh, this flaw or that flaw, I would let that thought, I would thank it and then love that part of myself. And I
Mhm.
would literally actually be standing in front of the mirror bawling. It brought so much emotion and tears. I'd look at my yoni, your vaginal opening. I look at that. I start to explore that space. And I just found myself shedding and healing this, all these layers of this dis-ease on me.
Mm.
And the more I did that, the more freer, the more lighter, the more happier I became. And so that's my story in somewhat of a nutshell. We all go through these stories uniquely. And so it's why I wanted to um, bring my story to the viewers, to the audience.
Thank you so much, Amy. I know that's a really vulnerable share. And it's interesting as we step into our healing journeys and really just accepting all parts of ourselves that when we start to share the story, it's like the first time we share, it's an unburdening. And then the second time we share, it's like every time we hear ourselves, like you listening to yourself in the last episode was like listening from a listener's view as opposed to the person speaking view. That's how the story eventually becomes simply a story to share for other women to go, oh my gosh, I see myself in that story. And as I was listening to your share, I was like, oh, we actually have a lot in common. It happened differently, but the religion, the father alcoholism, the mother who was really seriously religious, like these are like some very similar points for me as well. And I think that as we're running out of time today, I think I will share my story as well as to the disconnect and the moment of reconnection for me and how where that catapulted me in how I serve in the world today. So I find it absolutely fascinating that if you took yourself back to when you worked in the mission, to all of the different pieces that happened, you would not have known that it would have taken you here today in offering your gift to seeds to stars, right? Like we just have no concept of the life experiences that we have are like they're all gifts as much
They
as they're
are.
horrible at the time that you're experiencing, but they're all gifts because they add to your wisdom and they add to your passion and they add to the way in which you show up in the world and the way in which you serve. And here you are, you know, you've created this beautiful container and you would not have gotten there unless you'd had this story to share, right?
Yeah, absolutely. When I look at where I am today and what I'm doing and how I get to help and support women in their womanhood, in reconnecting with their wombs, in reconnecting to their voice, it just like it really makes me emotional because this was my this was like the furthest. I was the furthest away from my womb, from my own womanhood. I was the furthest away from my voice. Like I used to say I had a jar and I would shove everything in that jar that I just didn't say or speak or feel, and I would just close it, seal it tight. To be able to share this way, from this place of acceptance, from this place of forgiveness, from this place of deep love and compassion for myself, from where I was at. It's you know what, we don't know. And I want to again encourage the listeners, wherever you're at, whatever kind of journey you've been on, if you feel disconnected to your womb space, to your voice, there's no, you're never late. You're always on time, and you can begin at any moment in your life, no matter what age. Age is honestly, it, it's just a number. There's parts of you that are just waiting to be loved and nurtured. And the more we do that, the more we really are become alive. And your own medicine, your own life becomes medicine to the world. Yeah, it's just it's honestly, it's an honor to do this. It's an honor to be here. And I can't wait for your story, Karen.
Absolutely. We are running out of time, Amy. And so I just want to, you've already imparted such beautiful wisdom. Thank you so much for your vulnerable share. Is there anything else that from your story, any other nugget that's still sort of, the spunda that still wants to come out, that wants to share before we close this off today?
Yes, what I do today and this program I have made, Seeds to Stars, like I said, for me to say that I'm doing this today literally has like it's just incredible. I can't So I have to take a moment sometimes to step back and like be in awe of where I am. With Seeds to Stars, honestly, it's open to every woman. Yes, it's prenatal classes, but honestly, any person, any woman can come take this and they will be reconnected with themselves. They will find ways, methods, and it might be the first time actually you connect to yourself and to your womb space. I can't wait to get this in virtually where it's online for everybody worldwide, because the wisdom honestly is something, when I heard it, when I learned it, it made so much sense to me. And it took away so much shame and guilt. And shame and guilt is not, it's not a divine thing. It's not, I don't know if I'm wording that right, but it's not something that this is man-made. Yeah, it's not coming from source.
Yeah.
And so if you have any shame or guilt, please know that this is a safe space, that we are safe. Carole and I are safe women to hold space for you and talk about, because I just know the deep connection when you grow, when you have deep connection with your womb space and the things you can create within yourself is literally going to help heal the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Yes. I think we can end it there. Heal the world. And I know that that might sound really far-fetched for some people who are listening, but let me tell you, connecting with your womb space, finding your voice is the medicine, is totally the medicine for women. Totally, 100%. So with that, Amy, I want to just take the moment to really thank you from the deepest parts of my heart, because I know this, it's never easy to share the first time in our vulnerability. But I do know that the listeners, someone out there is going to hear your story today and they're going to go, oh my goodness, yes, I can relate. And they're also going to say, oh my goodness, if she can be the way she is talking about this now and sharing, maybe there is hope for me. So yes, we can heal the world. Absolutely. By connecting to our womb space. And so we started with the story of disconnect. We will finish with connecting. And so thank you so much, Amy, so much for being here. And we'll see you in the next episode. Looking forward to that.
Thank you for having me.